I know it. Why would they just put one map since it works for the Republic? Just to make it easier. Well, on the plus side, the weather is incredible today. This weather is amazing. It's been like a really good day to be out and about doing tour stuff. So welcome aboard. My name is Zane. I'll be your tour guide. Downstairs is Inzel, our driver. Remember, you gotta remain seated while the bus is moving. That's super important. The company is obsessed with that for safety purposes. You just gotta stay seated. All right, don't make me be a bus monitor about it. Because I'd rather talk about architecture like the buildings on the right. Very elegant Georgian architecture, 18th century government buildings. Independence Hall to the right was built in the 1730s to serve as the Pennsylvania state capitol. But the most famous thing about it, the four windows to the right with the clock in the middle, that room right there, that's where all the founding fathers got together to debate and eventually sign the Declaration of Independence and the United States Constitution. And this building to the right, you know, that was the Supreme Court back in the 18th century. Before Washington, D.C. was even a thing, Philly was the capital. On several occasions, you know, they actually had to move the capital when the British invaded and occupied the city. After defeating Washington and Pulaski at the Battle of Brandywine, they moved in and occupied the city, so they had to move the capital. Now, if they don't send you anyone, just get moving, dude, because we can't get caught up like this. Just go. There's no one waiting. Dude, just go. Ahead of time, because those are the first stops. They come up very promptly in the tour. So if you guys, for whatever reason, decide you want to get off at the first stop, stop 2 or 3 or 4, just call out. All right, if you're downstairs, you got to call out your driver, Inzel. Now, the first leg of the tour takes us to Reading Terminal Market. From there, I'm thinking 55 minutes, we will be finished. Right back here. I think we're the last bus of the day, by the way, so there won't be any more buses. Full statue to the right, I like the snake at the bottom. It's from 1876, dedicated to the theme of religious liberty, which is how Philadelphia was founded. It was founded by very religious people. The English Quakers were very strict religious activists. They founded Philly on the principles of religious freedom in 1682. This is the oldest part of Philly, everything to the right, including this cemetery, which is one of the oldest cemeteries in Philly. So the history of it dates back to 1695. This part of the cemetery is from 1719 though. There are some pretty famous people buried here. So like back there at Independence Hall, I showed you the very room where all the founding fathers debated and signed the Declaration of Independence. Well, 5 of them are buried to the right in that cemetery. 2 of them are buried in the other older part of the cemetery. Now, if you guys want to go there like tomorrow, it's a few bucks admission fee to go in. You can get like a map and all the famous people's graves and do some stuff. But Ben Franklin, we're going to point out his grave in just a moment as we zip by. Up ahead on the right is a spiky fence. There's a bunch of people milling about. And they are looking at the grave of Ben Franklin just there. He died in 1790 at the age of 84. And, you know, after a lifetime of achievements, he's buried there. 20,000 people attended the funeral of Ben Franklin. Amongst them, like a lot of famous historic figures. He's buried next to his wife, Deborah Reed Franklin, who was a very astute businesswoman. So the Franklins, they were involved in the printing and publishing industry. And Ben Franklin, without Franklin here. On the right is a big ugly piece of brutalist architecture, which happens to be the largest coin-producing mint in the world. They make quarters, nickels, pennies, and dimes inside that building. Go in there tomorrow. You can go in there for free. And you can learn about the history of, the Mint, which actually begins in 1794 in Philly, the first United States Mint. You can putt around all the famous Philly landmarks there, like a little Independence Hall and a little Rocky Steps and that kind of thing. The mini goes like $4 or something. That is called Franklin Square. That's a really nice park. They do a lot of cool events there. Big Chinese Lantern Festival, which is right by Chinatown. That's pretty cool. They do a lot of beer gardens and stuff. Now, we are driving through Albany. This is the oldest part of Philly. This is where the city was founded. In fact, everything between here where we are and the giant blue bridge up ahead, where the Delaware River is, this is Old City. So this is the original part of Philly. If you look to the left, you're going to see a beautiful historic church spire, St. Augustine's, that church spire there, founded in 1794 by the Augustinian monks. They're Irish Catholic monks. That church is quite prominently featured in that movie. The Sixth Sense, most goes inside that church, this type of thing. That's a very famous historic church. It's where Villanova University. Look up here to the left and you'll see it says the Chocolate Works Apartments. That was an old chocolate factory. All the old factories here, like the Glass Works on the left, they turned it into loft apartments for the youngies that live in this area now. So at one point, from an industrial neighborhood, a very upscale neighborhood full of yoga studios and hair salons and like stores and art galleries and stuff. That's kind of what Old City's like today. On the left, though, the bridge is the Ben Franklin Bridge, built in 1926. It was the longest suspension bridge in the world. That was our first bridge built across over the Delaware and connect up New Jersey to Philly. On the left, if you have your cameras out, you might want to take a photo of this famous landmark. It is a famous cobblestone lane. It's called Alfred's Alley. That street dates to 1703, and that's a nice snapshot of what Philly looked like during the time of your Ben Franklins and Thomas Jeffersons and George Washingtons. There's other historic figures. I guess you don't have the right you could, if you like this street that much, you could Airbnb one of those houses. I think they Airbnb 2 of them or something. They got a museum that's open on Wednesday with 2 of those buildings, but the rest of it is just normal people that live there. We're going to make a run. We are going to zip by the house of another famous historic figure in Philly, Betsy Ross. Betsy Ross, the lady credited with designing and sewing the first United States flag. She lived up here on the moon, and she is actually very here as well. This is a museum. It's open till 5 if you want to go here tomorrow. The grave of Betsy Ross is over there to the right by the 3 pond pots. Alright? So, grave of Betsy Ross, this museum, it's open till 5. Go there tomorrow. She was an upholsterer. She was one of 17 upholsterers. Really had the busiest port in America, the second busiest port in the world during her lifetime. As we all know, ships, they need a lot of flags and stuff. So that was her business. Go learn more about it there on the left. This is a very historic property on the left. This has been home to the Quakers since they founded Philly in 1682. First Quaker set was buried there 1683. A lot of history to read there. On the right, maybe you want to grab a photo of that. Buster Ben Franklin. I like to go eat my lunch in this park and admire this mural about firefighting history, which has been Franklin. And also on the side, how that grenade lighter could Ben Franklin. He was a firefighter, of course, and actually founded the first volunteer firefighting company in America in 1736, about 2 blocks to the left of where we are right now. You know they're doing this beer tour thing in this historic cemetery in the evenings. I keep walking past that. $15, I guess you get here. Because I actually want to learn more about that cemetery. You don't do that. On the left, that's the grave of Ben Franklin. He's buried on the other side of this fucking thing. Did you see all the pennies on the grave? It's a good luck tradition. It goes back many, many, many years. You guys can go partake in that. They collect up like $3,000 worth of pennies every year. They use it, in the restoration of those old-timey gravestones back there. So that is one of our old cemeteries. I think technically, like a different traffic, maybe finishing work or so. If you went into this building, into the basement vaults on the right, through this door here, I heard they had $40 billion hidden in there. That is the Federal Reserve Bank. They have cash reserves and stuff. You know, armored trucks going down there, and they got a lot of armed security. The building on the left is the FBI. The building up ahead on the left is a federal prison as well. So this is a government district. There are a lot of government buildings here. IRS building, United States Mint, Sheriff's Department, the Home Department, all that kind of stuff. But the building on the right, which is open tomorrow, that is the first African American History Museum on the right that opened in 1976. It's open Thursday or something. It'll be open tomorrow. We'll stop up at that picture. Now, if you are thinking about going out for dinner later, you can walk down to this Chinatown. So we're going to finish the tour of the movie though. You can walk to Chinatown in about 7 minutes. I always finish my last tour, call up one of my favorite Chinatown restaurants, walk down here in 7 minutes, go pick up my noodles and stuff and jump on the train. This is the Chinatown, the Four Dragons on the right. Represent the 4 seasons of the year. They welcome us into Philadelphia's Chinatown. It's one of the best restaurants. You gotta go here. You gotta go here and get ramen. You gotta go get Korean barbecue. You've got all kinds of dim sum places. Like in Tokyo, they got that. They got like those roast Peking duck places. They got every kind of Asian cuisine here. They got Thai, you know, all that kind of stuff. So maybe you want to go do that later. I would go do that if I were you. So Chinatown, really good food district, but it began in like 1871. There was one Chinese on a laundromat. That's how it started. But it basically, by the 1890s, was a thriving and bustling Chinatown. A lot of the men who worked on the railways and mines out west were Chinese men, and they would settle in like this area after they were finished working there, or like in New York, Chinatown. That's how it became like a bustling Chinatown. They would set up like a business here, restaurant or something, and have a family here. And it was a very thriving and bustling Chinatown. It used to be twice the size. It's still like very busy neighborhood, and a lot of the restaurants they don't like. You could definitely come here like 1 a.m. and sit down and have dinner at one of these restaurants. That's like a thing that people do in Chinatown. It's kind of known for that when you're out and about going to concerts and stuff. Restaurants in Chinatown, Malaysian spot. If you're into Malaysian food, you got to go there. You got Hot Pot. You got this is a brand new Japanese store there, and you got like a Hello Kitty store. That's your thing. You want to go do that? They got these bubble tea places here. Good restaurant district, easy to get to, sandwiched in the market. Of course, it's called that because it's a train terminal. Built in 1893, celebrating a 130-year birthday this year. You know this overbridge here? That's where the trains used to be. They used to come in on the platform, into the building on the left on the top floor. Right below it, you would be eating a cheesesteak for lunch. There's 3 buildings there. It's a food market. It's a food hall. It's a market. It gets called the best one in the country. Reading Terminal Market. 60 different places to eat. 5 to 6 million tourists a year go there. It's open every day from 8 till 6. I go there for breakfast. You know, there's this Amish diner like in this part. The nicest people in the universe. Really famous place for pancakes and all that. It's a famous place for breakfast. This blue stuff right on the left, that's its ice cream. 130-year-old ice cream. You can go in there and take a photo to the left of this neon sign, which is famous for being in movies. Maybe take a photo of that. The trains used to be up top. In the 80s, they moved to... Alright, let's get moving here. If you're an architecture admirer, this building is pretty cool. It's very much a copy of the types of buildings you would find in the Veneto in Italy and like Venice and stuff. It's Italian Renaissance architecture. This was the offices for the Reading Railroad. It was built in 1800. So that's where all the big wigs that ran the company were. The same one that's on Monopoly, the corner office there above the spinning guitar. That was the big head mucky muck of the Reading Railroad. He had this big fancy office up there. So the building is now part of the big giant convention center that have all the Comic-Cons and stuff. It's still a train station on the trains. You go in and you go underground now instead of going up to the train platform. Really nice old building. Let's talk about another nice old building straight ahead of us. There is my favorite building, actually. Philadelphia City Hall, which is basically the largest city hall in the world. It was built over a 30-year period between 1871 and 1901. If you're looking at it and you think that it looks maybe like the buildings you might find in Paris That's because it is a very, very French building. It is built in like a mixture of two French styles of architecture from the 19th century. It's built in the Second Empire style. It's ornamented in the most art style, very heavily ornamented. That building, 30 years to build it. Tallest building in the world from 1894 until 1908. It was like the world's tallest building. And you can at the moment. Now there are 250 sculptures on the building. It took 20 years to do them. The sculptural team was headed by this guy called Alexander Milcom. And him and his team, they went to the giant basement for 20 years on the sculpture, 30 years to complete the building. And there's 250 sculptures. So we sort of admire them as we zip by the city. If you look at a map of Philly, perhaps the map that you have in front of you, you will see that there's a big giant square in the middle of Philly, and that is where the city hall is. That was William Penn's idea. He designed the street plan to drive it. And he always wanted like a big city hall to go there. It just took like 200 years after his lifetime. It's still the city hall. But it used to have an observation deck right up there at the top, below the statue of William Penn. Now I think that was closed down. Look it up because they might have changed it recently, but like every time I always looked it up, it was like closed. There's a statue of a guy to the left, John Wanamaker, built that department store back behind us. He was like one of the most famous like retail innovator, mobile guys in history. He was involved with inventing Mother's Day right here in Philly, along with his friend, this lady of high society manager. You know, Mother's Day, Mother's Day. There's a building over to the right of us. It is a French building as well. It's in the Romanesque revival style. This building here is from 1871. They finished that right before they started building City Hall. I'm the equestrian statue. That is Edward Reynolds of McClellan. He fought in battles like Gettysburg in the Civil War. Now, Monopoly, it's from Philly. Root beer's from Philly. The United States flag's from Philly. But look over to the right, you'll see several giant Monopoly pieces, silver iron. We just left the Reading Railroad. Up ahead is the Pennsylvania Railroad. Monopoly is from Philly. Over to the right, there's a red sculpture, famous red sculpture, the Love Sculpture. That is like the 5th most photographed thing in Philly. Now, on Wednesdays, every Wednesday, they marry people in front of the sculpture. If you want to come back and have your little wedding, you can have it in front of the Love Sculpture. That's like a famous thing to do. Every Wednesday, they do that. I've seen hundreds of weddings there over the years. There's a beer garden to the left. Up ahead, this building, there's a giant Art Deco building up ahead of us to the right. So it's pretty famous for the Art Deco facade. But that was a harbor for the Pennsylvania Railroad. So the highway system made it easier for you to drive trains. But the main reason the Pennsylvania Railroad went bankrupt is that they had the contract to carry the mail all over America. The big steam trains, they lost that contract. They lost several hats off the back of the bus at this part of the tour. If you come around this corner, it's blown off. That's happened 3 times today, so that's why this hat is blown right now. It's brand new. I bought it like 2 weeks ago. Over to the left, there are 109 flags lining the parkway. The flags are in alphabetical order. So we're going to go through the A's and B's first. This parkway we're entering is Ben Franklin Parkway. Ben Franklin Parkway is modeled after the famous boulevards in Paris, and it's a collection of parks and gardens and sculptures and statues and fountains. And out there, I saw them doing that the other day. They always do that in spring and summer. They have these really carriage trails out there and stuff. You go to exploring and hang out there. But that cafe is named after one of the architects who built the parkway. We brought over French architects to design and build it. It was built throughout mostly like the 1920s, about 1918 to 1930. And, you know, it's modeled after the famous boulevards of Paris, France. So if you're visiting from overseas, you're going to get a photo of the flag. That's like the big tradition here. And up ahead, especially by the fountain, you might notice a similarity with Paris. They basically copied the parkway from there. Up ahead, there is a Turkish flag up there, the red and white flag up there on the left. It's the Ukraine flag. And that is a brand new, like, rooftop restaurant, patio, brewery over there. Maybe you could go there and hang out later. Pretty nice spot. I haven't been there myself, but it's like a year old. Pretty nice spot to go hang out. If you want to go hang out in the fire in the parkway, super nice park third largest Catholic church, and the Cathedral of St. Peter and Paul, that was built in the 1840s and finished in the early 1850s. That is a pretty famous church. It's a very important Catholic church. That's where the popes give mass as well. It's called Assembly Rooftop Village, right? I mean, if you're going to hang out in like this part of Philly, you basically can't get a better view than right here. This church here, be sure to admire the Corinthian columns and the full statues of St. Peter and St. Paul. That church is in the Neo-Baroque style, as you can see. You can tell that it's like a copy of the types of churches you would find in like Rome, Italy. It's basically a rip-off. We ripped off the church, we ripped off the parkway. On the left is a famous fountain, the Swan Memorial Fountain. It was built in the 20th century to represent three major rivers in Philly, and the Park Logan Square, where it dates back to the 1680s. And that is where they used to hang all the criminals, all the public executions for housing in this park until 1824. That's where the gallows is located. To the right is a cool Shakespeare monument. If your feet to Mars, this is directly coming from it. With the fountain, it's coming on board. It's like a direct copy. I haven't been there. I looked it up. It looks very similar. Up ahead to the left, there are two columns here. The columns are really cool Art Deco Civil War monuments of soldiers and sailors of the Civil War in the 60s. Over to the right, if you want to do art museums, they're all open on Friday. The one to the right has like $33 billion worth of paintings. Waldemar Foundation, they have the largest Renoir collection. They got a lot of Matisse, Monet, Van Gogh paintings, Cézanne. It's mostly for Impressionism, but they have other stuff as well. So that's the Barnes Foundation. Go there if you like Impressionism, get your camera ready to the right. You should take a photo of this famous statue. See how there's people doing wedding photos there? This is like one of the most popular spots for wedding photos, like prom photos and stuff. This is the grounds of the Rodin Museum. So you will recognize the piece out front. It is a piece by Rodin called The Paces. Was an old-timey Hollywood mogul during the black and white era of Hollywood. He produced Hollywood movies, and he was pretty wealthy, so he was an admirer of that sculptor. He used some of his money to collect the sculpture there. Over to the right, we're gonna head up the hill and head towards Eastern State Penitentiary. Now, so if anyone's planning on getting off anywhere on the tour, let me know ahead of time if you can. If you're downstairs, call out to your driver. But at the top of this hill, we're getting to the old penitentiary. So we do have people getting off at the penitentiary. Yeah. So it's at the top of the hill. So we have a few moments. So that prison, so maybe that. Yeah, the prison's very famous. It's a museum and it's open from 1905. And it's got a lot of history. Al Capone was locked up there. You can go take a photo of his cell, of course. He was locked up there for 7 months on a weapons violation. They have a cell set up like how he did. Pretty nice cell. You can go take a photo of that. I took a in front of that the other day. So Eastern State Penitentiary, that's a very popular museum. One of the more popular ones. And if you do the audio tour, it's narrated by Steve Buscemi. The actor, of course, the headphones, Steve Buscemi. It's pretty cool. This neighborhood is called Fairmount. They started developing this in the 1830s and 40s. This was an area where wealthier Philadelphians moved into from like the more crowded parts of the city. They started building nice townhouses here. Some of the Italianate style, like the Gothic style, and really nice mansions through here. So this is like a nice area with like really good collection of townhouse architecture. And these mansions, like this one up in the left. This brown-colored mansion is in the Italianate style that was built by a wealthy German brewing family, the Berndorf family. So that's a famous Berndorf mansion. They were a millionaire German brewing family. That was a very like German-run industry. Like 90% of the breweries were like German owned, and they were one of the wealthy families who made billions of dollars in that industry. Now straight ahead, is the prison, the aforementioned prison, the Eastern State Penitentiary. Now on Monopoly, how it says go to jail, it's actually talking about this prison. So the guy who created, people forget that there's a lot more stuff than just Tuesday, Liberty Bell, Philly, waterworks back there, and political statues. Now, the railroad, the Pennsylvania Railroad, the jail, and the waterworks, they're all bundled on it. So, like all the rest of us in Philly, the creator guy of Monopoly, he would spend his summers at the Jersey Shore. So all the rest of the stuff is from Atlantic City. It's like an hour drive from here. Up ahead, we're going to make a left. We're going to the Seaport Museum, super cool as well. And the movie museum. Now we're going to make a left. We're going to stop here. You guys have the advantage on Thursdays of stopping at this really nice farmers market here. They always have this nice looking like apple cider, apple juice or whatever. Looks really good. It looks very thirst quenching. You guys can make your way downstairs now. Don't forget your wallets and phones. We're going to stop at the if you have any other stops that you want to make between here and like the end of the tour back at the Liberty Bell, you can just let me know. You got time if you want to change your mind. You can call out to me, but if you can, let me know because it gets kind of complicated in rush hour. Keep your heads down. We're going to remain seated, especially at this part of the tour. There's a lot of low-hanging wires and branches. Now, the Philly Museum of Art is open tomorrow. It's supposed to go there. It's tomorrow? It's Friday. So here's the thing. If you guys are still in town tomorrow evening, the Philly Museum of Art is free. Okay? So it's like $30 normally, but it's paid as you pay for admission. After 5. So there you go. I just said to you, $30. Philly Museum of Art is free. I totally recommend it. It's a textbook Bible. I've been there for many years. But most people simply know it from the Rocky movies, where he runs down the parkway and up the 72 steps at the front of the museum. You know, keep your heads down, but let's take a moment or two to admire this Art Deco building up here on the right. It has a famous collection of bronze animal details on the top, including the squirrel holding an acorn, smirking squirrel up there, some pelicans and foxes. If you look to the right, flanking the steps are a couple of dogs guarding the entrance of the building. If you look in between the window spandrels, like the reliefs there, you got some knights and castles, and you got a feathered headdress and some steam locomotives and stuff. Quite a famous Art Deco building. You'll see it in books about architecture, articles and whatnot. They, pretty much the architectural historians, they consider it one of the finest Art Deco buildings in the country. It's really well proportioned, that building. It's a really nice building. If you didn't know, it's in the city colors of blue and gold, modeled after the colors of the Swedish flag. Maybe we'll talk about that later. There's a giant building buried in the spring foliage to the right. It's the Philly Museum of Art. Finished in 1928, so it's in the Greek Revival style. So basically, it's designed to look like an ancient Greek temple. You're going to see all the details on it from Greek mythology. Get your cameras ready to the right. Take a photo with this golden statue. The Joan of Arc statue is one of the best statues in Philly. That one was a gift from our French people in Philly in the 1890s to commemorate 100 years since the French Revolution. It's real gold over bronze. It's gold-plated. Over to the right is the most famous statue, though. The Rocky statue. Now, the statue, so those movies, like, they're the most famous movies in Philly. Everyone knows that. They're one of the only things people know about the city. The first movie came out in 1976. It was a big Oscar winner. It made a huge star out of Sylvester Stallone. But the series continued and it made hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. And the statue actually dated. Those people are, well, you're better off not getting involved with that situation. If you can avoid it. That's pretty much all I'm going to say about that for now. You can ask me about the juicy details later. Those are the Rocky steps straight ahead of us. It's 72 steps. Those are the steps he runs up in all the famous trading montages. He comes down the parkway and up the steps. If you go up to the top of the steps, so if you visited in the 80s, you know the statue was up top of the steps. It's been moved a couple of times. It's now directly behind the ice cream truck back over here. So that is the Liberty Bell that's going to be closed. The visitor center is going to be closed, but we're going to be in. I'm a fan of those movies, like the first four of them. In those movies, he's very, very ripped in those movies, especially like Rocky IV. But he's not a very tall to have him on for like a week, maybe 2 weeks, this type of thing. So it's exceedingly rare to have all three of them. Like they don't put them on, or they'll have one of them on, and then something will happen, and they'll shut it off, this type of thing. But the giant centerpiece to the left is George Washington, and that is Washington depicted in 1783 after defeating the British in the American Revolution. Notice this gentleman to the left with a trident stabbing a gator. That guy represents the Mississippi River. The other figures are the Delaware, Hudson, and Potomac rivers. They represent the four main rivers. The statue is about America and her struggle for freedom and independence during the American Revolution. If you look by the Sarah Green, if you put it up there, it's pretty good. But again, like something like that, you can do that as well. Look it up. You can get there on the subway. You can get there in 5 minutes from Liberty Bell. Where we finish the tour in about maybe 30 minutes, something like that. The construction up ahead of us, to the right, is going to be another museum that. His son was the guy who got the fountain up ahead of us. That sculpture. Alexander Sterling called him. Then the next 2 generations of famous sculptors. It's going to be the big Calder Museum. So they have a family, famous sculptors over there. So that'll be like the 5th main art museum downtown. We're going to make a stop at the first in a few moments. Okay? So what we do, we'll make this. The silver airplane is called the Pioneer. It was built here in Philly in the early days of aviation, and yes, like first stainless steel plane ever built. So it was kind of like a high-tech prototype plane back in the 20s. Pretty famous landmark. Now, speaking of aviation, there's a golden bowl over there to the right in that part, and it's dedicated to the pilots who flew in World War I. So we're going to make our run. We're going to go up ahead. We're going to make a stop at Stop 17 Beach Shore to say thank you to your driver, Zell, on the way out for driving us through this rush hour traffic. You guys, the last thing I would ever want to do is drive to Philly. Never driven here once. Wouldn't want to take on that ability you guys can make. Your way downstairs right now. Shall we? That building, the giant blue glass building, that is America's 9th tallest building. It's the tallest building outside of Chicago and New York, apparently. That building was built by Comcast in 2018. It's 1,121 feet tall. It is 60 stories high. Now the building, look at the shape of it. For some reason, they designed it to look like a giant, like 90s Nokia cell phone. It's like a giant flip phone, right? That's why it has the antenna. Right hand side is that bulgy bit down below. So it is actually designed to look like a giant old cell phone. Now, if you guys wanted, so today is like perfect weather. It's super clear out. If you go up to the top and you want to treat yourself to a fancy dinner, go up to the Four Seasons. It's the highest hotel and restaurant Four Seasons up there. Go out for fancy cocktails or something. Look it up. Look up the details and stuff. It's a famous train station, 30th Street Station. It was built by the Pennsylvania Railroad. Drafted in World War I, died fighting in Belgium and northern France. It's a real cool statue. Now we're gonna make a stop up ahead. It's stop 18. Did you want to do? There's like 3 of them. City Hall. City Hall. All right. We're gonna stop at One Liberty Place in that case. So this part of town, this is like the business district of Philly. The business district, you know, the corporate headquarters and banks and tallest buildings. They're all located in this part of town. So you've got Comcast, they are a Philly company. And another big Philly company is located in this building up here on the left. This is 1901. And if you look way up the top, there's a giant. And the one on the right is the third tallest. Now, I'm thinking we could probably finish in, well, let me see. I was aiming for 5:50, maybe 5:20. What I normally do is drop at 19, which is is that cold? Right? Unless, yeah, the only other option is the left. Until the end of the tour, and then you gotta walk like okay, now, what I want to talk about, if we look towards City Hall, there's a giant statue of William Penn up the top. He is facing to the very spot where he landed on the banks of the Delaware River, signed a treaty and founded Philly in 1680. That's why he's facing northeast. Did you know that the city and the architect and the sculptor all argued about that? The sculptor who I mentioned, Alexander Miller, hated that idea. Look up at him and you can see why. So he's his front, like the front side of him is obscured in shadow, and the sculptor hated that because he didn't get to see his beauty. He really was against that idea, but he lost the argument. Down below, to the left, there's a statue of Octavius Cato. That guy is known as the Martin Luther King guy of the 1800s. He was a big civil rights figure. He was an educator. He was an officer in the army in the Civil War. He was one famous trial there was Al Capone's trial before he was thrown in jail at Eastern State for 7 months. Another very infamous criminal, H.H. Holmes, that serial killer guy from Chicago, his trial was there. We sentenced him to hang. He was hanged in Monumental Prison about 2 miles up ahead of us down in South Philly. This area is the Performing Arts District. This is where you come for the opera, the ballet, the orchestra, all that stuff. For the last couple hundred years. In fact, did you know that Philly was the big theater capital before Broadway? Just like it was the banking and financial capital up until about 1830, and it was superseded by Wall Street. Over to the right, this red brick building is in the Second Empire style, and that's 1860s, and that's a very prestigious businessman's club. A lot of wedding photos get taken on the steps. We're gonna make a stop at stop 19. Where still we go? Alright, so we're gonna stop over here. This building here on the left has really nice polished arch windows, colorful banners. That's like a dance studio because we're in the Performing Arts District. There's always people in ballet as we go by there. This building on the right is actually one of my favorite pieces of architecture in Philly. That's because it's in the French Renaissance style, and that's a famous hotel. So if you've seen the Plaza Hotel in New York, this is very similar because we're going to get moving. Eventually, we're going to get back. The window in the hall up ahead on the right is a famous theater. The oldest continuously operating theater in America up there on the right, the Academy of Music building. What you guys should do is look directly behind us, take that photo. Go ahead and take it. Go ahead and snap that photo. It's very famous, and that's why, did you see those people? I don't know the famous photos. Do you see those people back there taking like graduation photos? Everyone does that at this time with photo. So, of course I got that on my Instagram and Facebook. So, this building on the right is my favorite. Cornice in Philly. If you look up the top, the gray part with the hidden oak leaves tucked in the Cornice brackets, pretty neato. The building is from 1857. The oldest continuously operating theater in America. Theater on the right, theater on the left, theaters on the head as well. I think they're doing a Beetlejuice musical. Notice the names of the streets around here. They're named after famous composers, famous singers, right? Ballet. This is a graduation ceremony. Right, and this is like, they do a lot of those down here, like every single year. The Kimmel Center, that's where the orchestra plays. There's a couple theaters in there, a few restaurants in there. That's the new home of the orchestra. On the left. On the left is a really nice church, actually. This church up here, it's Gothic. It is a copy of a French Gothic cathedral, like from the 11th century, the 12th century, but it's only 120 years old. I like the nifty gargoyles off the top though. And if you look into the window tracery, you will see some deformed faces. Those are called roads because it gets tough with this rush hour traffic. This building on the right, same architect as the penitentiary. This guy, John Haviland, he's like one of the most famous architects from here. He actually won a contest to design that prison. And then it went on straight down the road. That's where all the stadiums are. Eagles, Phillies, Flyers, Sixers. All the stadiums are in a big cluster. It's about 2 miles. Right down the bottom of Broad Street. That's where the, I guess the Phillies have been playing like Arizona down there and stuff. That's where like the World Series was, and that's where the NBA playoffs were being held and all that kind of stuff. So that's where the stadiums are. It's pretty much very close to being on the way to the airport. We're gonna make a left. We're gonna head into some like what I would call picturesque residential, historic residential neighborhoods full of old brick row home architecture from the 17 and 1800s. The neighborhood we're heading into first is called Washington Square West. And a lot of the brick row home building from through here is like 1840s, 50s, and 60s. But the further we head down, we get basically into the 1700s at the end. The oldest parts of Philly are on the eastern side. So the further we head towards the Delaware River, the older the buildings are going to get. Extra one thing to look out for though are all those plaques with the logos of different fire companies on them. Fire insurance companies. It was like a mandatory thing. You had to get fire insurance. They came up with a mandatory thing. You had to get fire insurance. You had to display that mark with that one on the left on the front of your house. So keep an eye out, and you'll see a bunch of different logos for different companies, and they're all on the fronts of their houses. That was like a 17 and 1800s thing. The city was obsessed with fire safety. In fact, they ended up outlawing wooden houses. Things like in the 1700s. Street pattern in America, the first city immigrant pattern. It's built this way for fire safety purposes. The wide gridded street pattern was designed by William Penn because he lived in London right around the time of the Great Two with 4 hands. Ben Franklin's Fire Insurance Company. And you see the one up here with the 4 hands, it usually says 1752 with Ben Franklin. We're going to stop. We're going to stop up here at stop 21. We're going to make this stop. And I think after this, perhaps we should finish in about 15 minutes. This is stop 21. Here's America's first public hospital. It's Pennsylvania Hospital. So that was actually founded by Ben Franklin as a free charitable public hospital in 1751. The building actually contained the first operating theater in America. And some of the earlier medical students in the country were taught there. So it is like a hospital. There's always like good stuff over there. Because like it's part of Buchanan. It's still a hospital. It's part of Buchanan. It's about 1810. These houses here. Some of them actually have a sticker in the window saying they'll tell you what here are built. It's like a thing you can look out for down here. So we are in a neighborhood called Washington Square East. We're going to cross into to a neighborhood called Society Hill up ahead, which happens to be the most expensive neighborhood in Philadelphia County. So these neighborhoods are pretty scale, I guess, from here. But the neighborhood up ahead has the highest average house prices and rents and stuff in Philly. Now, look to the left, there's a plaque there with a tree on it. That's another fire insurance company. You'll see about 5 or 6 different ones. That's like that's a thing you'll see when you look around any old neighborhoods. Basically the second oldest part of Philly, but the thing about it is, it actually retains a lot more of the old historic buildings from the 1700s and 1800s than old city buildings. So essentially it's kind of like the oldest part of Philly, and it gives you more of a genuine look, kind of like what Philly looked like around about 18. Now, up ahead, to the right, is a very important, very beautiful and scenic historic church and cemetery. This church on the right is from 1768. This is Old Pine Street Presbyterian Church, aka the Third Presbyterian Church, aka the Church of the Patriots. If you look into the cemetery, you'll see why. There are many hundreds of soldiers and sailors buried there from the American Revolution. And the War of 1812, and 600 members of that church signed up to fight under Washington during the Revolution. You might have seen it in that movie National Treasure with Nicolas Cage, getting chased by bad guys to death. They're shooting at him. On the right is a beautiful church in the like colonial Georgian style. That one is even older. 1762, the last one from 1768. The house, these are all 1700s houses here. We're all in the 18th century, so this is really old part of Philly. Now, it was a very busy 4th by 1710. The first Navy yard to build warships was a U.S. There's that running montage from Boston ship and the Trinity. Okay? Then it's in a movie called The Godfather 2. In The Godfather 2 is the ship that Vito comes to America on from Sicily when he's a little boy to escape from the mafia vendetta. He comes over on that ship. You'll even see the name of the ship in the movie next time you watch the bronze guy to the right with the M60, that guy was from Philly. He was in the Marine Corps in Vietnam and he was awarded the Medal of Honor. The part to the right has a few monuments in it. The centerpiece is a big wall in the same fashion as the one in DC. It's like scaled down and it has the names of 648 Philly boys who died fighting in Vietnam in the 60s and early 70s. So you'll see that as we go by. So they have a lot of ceremonies here over Memorial Day. We're going to make this right-hand turn. But up top is the more like informal kind of restaurant where you can go up there. You can have sushi. I have sushi up there. Thanks for going there. Go up and sit on like the bow of the ship. They got this comfy furniture up there, nice couches and stuff, and you can hang out up there. It's called a Mashulu, so look that up. It's like nice and quiet over there. The waterfront now. So the big sailing ship back behind us to the giant bridge up ahead of us is basically, this is a mile of waterfront promenade with a bunch of different stuff. So there are about I think there's about and ice cream trucks. Like, see these shipping containers down here to the right? They got like food trucks in them. There's 3 video game arcades. There's one back behind us. There's one up ahead of us, and then there's like the Dave & Buster's one right on the waterfront as well. Now there's those swan paddleboard things to the right, and they do little concerts there, with craft fairs and stuff. They're doing some of that kind of stuff this weekend actually. And you can go take photos of these old ships. See that sailing ship to the right, the white colored one through the trees there? It's called the Gazella. It was built in Portugal in 1901. You know what movie that's in? Interview with the Vampire. Very famously. That's Hammond, New Jersey, on the other side of the river. On the other side, New Jersey. Up here to the left, there is a Marine Corps emblem. That is dedicated to the Marines who were killed in Beirut in 1983. That memorial to the left. There's 3 war memorials down here. So there's the Vietnam one, there's the Beirut one, and then up here on the left you're going to see a Korean flag. And that is the Korean Veterans Memorial. There are 122 Philly boys on that memorial who died fighting in Korea in the early 1950s. So alright, there's 3 parks built over the top of the sky. Okay, so you got this big major highway, and it's just to the right of us. If you follow it up ahead, it goes up to Canada, of course. If you follow it down, that behind us, it goes down to Florida. It is called I-95, and very important highway. This park, right, is called I-95 Park. It's got some pretty cool memorials in it. The one to the right, you're going to see an Irish flag. It is like the memorial dedicated to the like for about 2 years until they built the Ambassador Bridge. There's like 3 of those. That one's called the Ben Franklin. You can go out there for dinner and stuff on that yacht. Like I said, come down to the waterfront and extend. That is a 9/11 memorial. It's just 2 weeks on this. See those windows up there? Look up Ray Street here. Look up Ray Street here. You can go into those pier buildings. And there's all these other studios. Like lots of money. Like, it's sort of like crop business. We're in the oldest part of Philly right here. This here is where the city was founded. This is where the city was founded in 1680. It's the oldest building in America for 60 years. It is a very historically significant church, one of the most historically significant country. This is also a food and drink district. You got beer gardens, you got sushi, you got Chinese food, you got ice cream shops, a couple of Christmas ones, Indian food.